Andrew Bynum for the government and nonprofit class. This is my worksheet for the Chapter 6 portion of the Smithville assignment. So here we have the pre-closing trial balance for the Street Improvement Bond Debt Service Fund. We had done the Street Improvement Fund earlier. Now we're tackling the debt service portion of that. Here for the appropriations and estimated revenues and estimated other financing sources were for recording the budget and in the first transaction, which of course there was nothing in the governmental side for that. Then after that, let's see, recorded and other financing sources for premium on the bonds, as well as interfund transfers in, and which of course did match it up with the estimated other financing sources. Then we recorded revenues of accrued interest over here, as estimated here. And then finally, we paid off expenditures for bond interest on and the same amount as appropriations, and thus all debits and credits match up. Then in the statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes in the fund balances, we categorize our revenues here, and to of course clarify that these are for the regular revenues, expenditures, and other financing sources, not the estimations that we see here in the pre-closing trial balance. So we have our revenues of the accrued interest, the expenditures for the bond interest, which gave us our excess of revenues under expenditures, which is the amount we were requested to find. And of course, we found the same amount here for $75,000. That, and subtracting, adding up our other financing sources, we get our change, and thus nothing's changed. The end there. Then we have our schedule for budgeted and actual revenues and expenditures based on the example also recommended in the book. And as we saw in our other previous in our pre-closing trial balance, and the estimated revenues and sources and appropriations match the resulting expenditures, revenues, and financing sources that would occur later on, which is why budgeted and actual amounts remain the exact same, why the excess is the same in the schedule as it is in the statement, and thus we get the same result. No changes throughout the year. Then, for the legal debt margin portion, we were asked to find the legal debt limit, debt subject to the limit, and the debt margin. I went off an example in the book that was recommended, and this gave us our most likely situation. So we have our total estimated actual valuation given to us in the problem. Then we account for it for the maximum general obligation of 8%, or as it was stated in the book, this being our debt limit of $27,000 plus. Then we subtract from that the debt subject to the limit, which in this case is our face value of the serial bonds that were issued originally in Chapter 5, but also took up residence in Chapter 6, and thus gives us the amount we were requested to look for, the legal debt margin on December 31st of $24,406,545. And that's about all there is to it. Have a good night.